where we transcend and go beyond the subconscious. Welcome to Elevated Wisdom, where we transcend and go beyond the subconscious. Welcome to Elevated Wisdom, where we transcend and go beyond the subconscious. Welcome to Elevated Wisdom, where we transcend and go beyond the subconscious. Welcome to Elevated Wisdom, where we transcend and go beyond the subconscious.
And we live. Welcome in, everybody. We are here
Oh shit.
on another beautiful Friday with Ahmad Jermaine and your boy, Intoxicated DJ. Today's topic we have what does detachment look like? And it's another
Oh.
beautiful topic, another strong topic. I feel that many don't take the time to sit and have this raw conversation with somebody, and I'm very grateful to have my brother here, Ahmad Jermaine, to um, share this space, safe space, to have this conversation of our experience, and in turn, we help one another by allowing ourselves to sit and active listen to somebody else who has or is having a similar or different human experience and share our wisdom, which is actually our experience, our interpretation of a certain experience. And so we are here, elevated wisdom, back again. How you doing today, Ahmad?
I'm good. I'm good. I wanted to start off
Mm.
with something I do before I go to bed and something when I wake up. So I would like everybody to just say, "Today is going to be an amazing day."
Today is gonna be an
Then you
amazing
say,
day.
"Today, something amazing is going to happen to me."
Today, something amazing is gonna happen to me.
Today, something amazing will happen for me.
Today, something amazing
Today
will
is an
happen
amazing
for me.
day.
Today is an amazing day.
Will and then you finish off with saying, "Today will be an amazing day."
Today will be an amazing day. Okay, okay.
And then the intention will be, "I need to do something today that's out of my comfort zone." So anything I do that's
Ooh,
unusual or out of my comfort zone will make it an amazing because I don't know how it will unfold. It's a whole new experience.
I like that. Okay.
So it could be talk to a stranger,
Mm.
start off by doing something like this,
Mm.
um, you know, eating a different food or planning to do something that you typically don't do on a Friday. Maybe go eat dinner by yourself. Whatever it may be, just do something that you typically don't do
Yeah.
and sit with that experience and see how it feels and what happens. And you'll be surprised. And then you'll realize that today was an amazing day.
Mm. And you start your days every single day like this.
Yes, you finish the night out. Before you go to bed, you do that. And then you kind of sit with yourself. Like for me, I talk to myself basically as I'm going to sleep, asking questions that I'm searching for. Like, what is my soul's purpose? If I do this, am I living up to this? Just asking, right? Just to
Mm.
find things. And then when I wake up, that's the first thing I like to do is do that to set the tone, get the emotions going. And then from there I'll do, side crunch or whatever else I got going on.
Yeah.
And then I'll go into my actual affirmations that I do in the morning.
Okay.
So
Hey. And how has this routine affected your life?
in a positive way, I mean, obviously by saying it, I'm now forced to look at what's happening in my life.
Hmm.
And it's also allowing me to detach, right? Because I'm no longer, the more you control, I think the less amazing days you have, right? So it's allowing me to kind of just surrender to what things actually are and just try and experience it. But also look for those positive things, even in all the little small moments that we may have. A conversation with your mom, or a conversation with a friend you haven't had in months,
Hmm.
a good laugh, um, like that, a die with a smile, like me and my daughter will sing it. Just for those things, just to be like, man, this is what those experiences are about. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
to get the emotion with it, and to now focus on what you have to look forward to instead of what is like bogging you down or stressing you out. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So yeah, start with that, and now I'm looking for things that's positive that's gonna happen to me or for me. You know what I'm saying?
No, most definitely. I think that is important. I do something similar, not exactly identical to that, but the one thing that I do that is basically the same is the something amazing is going to happen to me today, and I will experience something amazing today. And I don't look for it but now I am aware of all the positive things that are happening, right? So I'm not expecting it to happen, but now I got to the bus stop just in time to make the bus. Boom, that's something amazing, right? Okay, cool, cool. But
Mhm.
perhaps maybe something even more amazing might happen next, you know? And so the now I'm seeing the flare of positivity around me rather than being focused on the negative aspects like, oh, I'm having such and such person pissed me off at work, and now my day has been ruined, and every person that
Yeah.
comes around me has got to get away because this, that, and the third. And so now I create the negative environment where people feel that energy and return that negative energy. And so the negative day just continues on and on. And so for me, that small of a change, and it may sound like it's a small for some people, but for me, it was so huge that it literally helped me understand that happiness truly is a choice, and it begins by choosing to say that in the mornings. And the one thing I don't do is do it in the evenings. I only do it in the mornings. So I think I'm gonna be adding that to my evening routines as well. And at the very least, what I do is the reflection period, which um, it goes back and I can count, like, not only did one amazing thing happen, but I actually say, well, this happened and that happened. That's also amazing and that's also amazing. But now I got 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, sometimes hundreds of amazing things happened that day. And so,
Well,
uh,
think about it. The best time to rewire the brain is as you're going to sleep, right?
mm,
So that's why you do it, to reinforce the habit, but also the emotion to go with it. And as you're saying it and going through everything, you're now reprogramming your mind to be in that state of positivity. And
mm,
now you have an emotion with a mindset, and now the habit is forming, and the routine is there,
mm,
and it's harder to sink back into those negative aspects.
very much so. Very much so. And it's not impossible because I have found myself with all the tools, with all the blessings, with everything positive around me, and I still manage to choose negativity or the depression or the this or the that that kept me in a dark hole. And so, it's in any situation um, that is true for good and bad, right? And so, even at a funeral, um, there is choices to be made on how to spend that experience. And so you can choose to be miserable and sad at a funeral, or you can choose to celebrate the life of somebody that you loved and be happy that they are not in pain, that they're in their perspective belief of afterlife or whatever it is. We can choose to look the positive things of any situation, just like we can choose to look at negative in any positive situation. So for me, that definitely has been helpful, which is great. Also, that leads into the topic of detachment, right? I think what you were describing at the end is also detachment of the day, of the things that we have gone through at the end, the time for um, self reflection gives you that. Mic volume, the stream is low, ink. Ooh, appreciate it, fam. Um, Let me see. Try to bring it out here. Oh shit. Okay, okay, okay. But yeah, so in that sense, how would you connect with what we were just talking about? How would you connect that to detachment, that topic today? Thanks, Link.
Uh, so A lot of people think detachment is like getting cold and no longer having emotions or feeling for something
Mm.
or for someone. But detachment itself is no longer being emotionally dependent or emotionally liable, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess dependent would be the best way. Just be emotionally dependent, right? Because most of us, if there's codependency, you need that person to feel better about yourself, right?
Yeah.
Um, so how to relate the two is at the end of the day, I'm not dependent on my control or my expectations of how the day should go. I'm letting go of that aspect, right?
Mm, okay.
Because I'm no longer expecting it to be a certain way and I'm no longer trying to control it, right? I'm not trying to say I need to do this. You know how people have itineraries for everything and this because it's good to be have a routine and some form of a schedule, but a lot of us that have that schedule, what happens when we fall behind or we fall short?
Mm.
We then stress out. I know I used to like, oh, I'm behind. I'm behind. I gotta do this. Oh, you know. And the next you know, I'm getting worked up over something that uh, I could have had control over
Mm.
if I would have just let go. Life is not meant to be every increment, every minute, and every second, right? We're not supposed to live those. Because how will we experience? How will we enjoy? How will we do certain stuff?
Yeah.
What was that place?
No, it's for me, right? That is what I thought detachment looked like. The serial killers that can, mutilate something or somebody and have zero reaction, like no, and I'm like, man, I don't think I could ever do that. And realizing now that detachment for me is grieving, going through the grieving process. And I no longer have to take an exert amount of time to grieve and detach from things. And that is the biggest part for me is things because people I can easily just I don't want to say let go, but I can distance myself enough to where that is no longer in my area of bothersome, right? Like I can distance myself from any one person where they no longer bother me. If they can try to call me, they can try to email, they can whatever, but it would not bother me. Now, things, in the other hand, I've managed to create attachments uh, in the past that kept me in one place. I'm talking about cars, I'm talking about houses, I'm talking about things that, although it was difficult to live in California and have all these things and keep up with all these things that really kept me in an environment that, although beautiful and amazing, I was miserable, right? I could not detach myself from this idea that these materialistic things were going to do something for me. We're going to make X girl like me. It's going to make X partner think better of me. It's going to make X client sign the contract. It's going to, it was always going to, I was looking to better myself with external things. And that was the most difficult aspect about detachment for me. Allowing myself to say none of these things truly bring value to who I am. Anything, if anything, I'm bringing value to those things, which in turn is making other people want to buy these things more, right? And I'm just creating that false feelings for them as well. Now I'm participating in that madness. Is that where you were heading? That?
Yeah, I was gonna say that really when you're attached to something, you're dependent upon that something to make you feel good, right? And the reality is that that should come from you. You don't need someone or something to make you feel good about yourself,
Mm,
right? So to detach, in my opinion, it's to not emotionally be dependent on something or someone to validate my existence, to make me feel good about myself, to or to enjoy the experience that I have, right?
yeah.
And that's the biggest thing is I am everything to me. And that's the only thing I should be dependent on,
Mm,
right? But even then, there's still that line, right? Because some people will say, all we are is pure consciousness. And between consciousness and our ego self is typically a 2 or 3 year window, right? Because when we're born, we're babies, we're basically love and consciousness.
mm,
But once we start taking on parenting, uh, ideologies, that we start going and dealing with institutions and we start getting programming and we start getting trauma and relationship situations and now we will basically change who we are to fit a situation to make people like us or to feel accepted or to get approval and all these things that we never needed in the first place.
mm.
So it's a very interesting process, in my opinion.
Very much so. I think for me, that was the hardest part of allowing myself to be myself was the plethora of expectations placed upon me based on the people that I've allowed to partake in my life, right? And it started with my parents of that don't do this, don't do that, of actively telling me, of people around me actively telling me, don't do what I do what I say. And it created this necessity for my psyche to have the people around me's approval to say, okay, I'm doing my part. Okay, everybody likes me, and that means I'm doing everything right. People have no problems with me. I'm doing everything right. I can relax. But that never came. It was never enough. I was always something. I was always a liar. I was always the this. I was always the that. And then through those expectations, I began to beat myself down and coincidentally became those things. I allowed that reality to become true for me and my psyche, and I became those things. The womanizer, the liar, the this, the that, and all the other shit. Because I truly thought that that's what was expected of me. That's what was thought of me. That's what people wanted from me. And letting go or allowing myself to separate myself, detach myself from that was extremely difficult. That for me, it took isolation. How about you? How did that journey begin for you to one learn about detachment and then actually beginning to detach from those challenges in your life?
Um, that's a good question. I'll be honest. I would say probably only in the last year I've been able to start the detachment process. So I think the first step for me was acceptance, right? I had to accept everything
Mm,
and I had to be fine with me to then realize those attachments aren't really real. They're
Mm.
just superficial, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like they were different masks that I had to wear at different times with different people.
Mm.
Um, and once I realized I don't have to be anybody different, and as long as I'm being true to myself, I have my self respect, my integrity, and I'm not saying or doing anything with any malicious intent, I'm golden, man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? How someone receives and feels, I don't have anything to do with that
Yeah.
because I'm not trying to make anybody feel uncomfortable or any type of way. But if that does offend you or affect you in a certain way, maybe there's some truth in it that you know you need to kind of resolve or confront that you haven't.
Mm.
Or maybe for some of us, like I was there, envious that someone's at a point that they can do it, and I wasn't ready to do it, but I know I needed to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So it is many aspects of the human psyche that makes all this difficult, but it's all internal, man. And it's funny. All the lies and stories recreate by just being in reality and accepting what is, they go away.
Mm.
And as those narratives go away, so do those attachments. So the final part for me was identifying the emotion that went with the attachment. And if I can eliminate that emotion, then I'm not even going to that point where I feel the need to be attached.
Mm. That's a great
Because
point.
the emotion was what was feeding me, right? That's what I was hanging on to more than anything was just
Mm-hmm.
that emotion because it made me feel safe or secure or
Mm.
it just protected me in a sense, right?
Mm.
But in reality, it wasn't because it was leading me astray. It wasn't allowing me to be in my authentic self
Mm.
and to accept who I am and be comfortable by and allow people to judge me and being fine with it. Because the reality is, someone will always have something to say. Someone will always disagree with you.
Mm.
And some people just may not like you for whatever reason it may be. And the reality is they don't even know. They just don't like you. And that's okay because they have every right in all three of those areas. They can say something, they can chastise, they can judge, and they cannot like me.
Mm.
Because that's the reality that they choose. They're fully welcome to do it. But that has nothing to do with me. And that was the empowering part for me was realizing like, man, like I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to keep carrying all this emotional baggage from these people that have nothing to do with my life and have no bearing whatsoever on what how I'm gonna move forward or how I view myself.
Mm.
Even now to like for me, it's like my parents, like it's cool. I know you're coming from a part that you would like me to fit a certain structure for you, and you want this, and you want the best for me. But sometimes your version of what the best is for me isn't the best for me,
Mm.
and we have to start standing up for that. Most people are never gonna come at us wanting us to be in a bad situation. They just want the best for us. But the problem is they're looking at it from their perspective. And what makes sense to them and may be the best for them is not always going to be the best for you. And we got to be able to stand on our 10 toes and be like, no, that's not good for me. I don't like that. I appreciate it, but I got it. I'm going to figure it out. And when they get in their feelings, allow them to process that because you just told them that they're wrong. And a lot of people can't accept that, right?
Mm.
So it's just so many facets to the detachment thing because it also comes back to, personal accountability, your own self awareness, um, And this process, like we always talk about it, it's non-linear, man. But I would ask you, what has been the hardest thing to detach from, and emotionally, what did it put you through?
Whew. The hardest thing I've had to learn how to detach. Um, I'm not gonna go with anything physical. I'm gonna go with something ideological. Ideological. Yeah, I think that's the word. Um, this idea of love. I had this attachment to love that it was incomprehensible. Like I wanted to be a father. I wanted to be a husband. I wanted to be in a relationship. I want to have best friends. I want to have big family. Like all, like I just I didn't I wanted to have all these different physical things because I thought it represented love. And when I look at a lot of my actions, they were based off me wanting love. But the biggest problem this entire time was my perception of love. I really didn't have a good one. I didn't understand what love was because I've never loved myself properly. I never truly grasped what came from understanding how to love myself. And so because of that, I was attached to all those things. I was, did I would bend over backwards for these people and thinking maybe if I just will do this, maybe if I'll just do that, and even if it was the worst thing for me, I would say, well, because this is what love looks like, I'm going to put myself through the ringer because I love you. Like, I thought that made sense. I thought that by me struggling or suffering to help you, that meant that I loved you. And it was difficult to detach because when you are that, people will give you a certain type of attention that may feel like love, but all it is a transactional bit of energy. And so um, the struggle was truly understanding to say no, how to say no to somebody that I quote unquote love, how to have that serious conversation that we are having now and be honest and say, I know you mean well, I know you're giving me the right advice, but I'm not going to take it. I don't need that. It's not going to work for me. And I know it's not going to work because I've already made up my mind that it's not going to work. Even if it worked, I'd find some way to tell you it didn't work. Just to make sure I'm right, right? Type of stuff. That's kind of where I was at with my attachment. And so for me, my attachment to love was misconstrued by my understanding of love, which made it difficult to detach from. And so, speaking in to different people around the world and learning about what it looks like to really love yourself and love myself, more importantly, what does that look like? How do I want to be loved? How can I love other people? All these questions were able to answer my never ending question of how can I just let go of this never ending search for love. And once I was able to take the time and really gather my information and started applying that information for self love, self care, it was almost like it felt like a blink of an eye that just one day I realized, oh, I've let go of that attachment. But in reality, it was months and years of practice and practice and practice. Because to this day, I still will do unhealthy things in the pursuit of this old pursuit of love, right? I still jump in situations thinking, well, it's because blah blah blah. But in reality, it's just my old way of thinking. But for me, I think that would be the long version of the answer. What about you?
Yeah, it goes back to like you said, not loving. I was chasing those things, looking for love, but in reality, I believed I didn't deserve it because of my actions and who I was.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't
Mm.
believe I was worthy for that love. So regardless of what I was doing and how much I suffered, it never, like, I never could suffer enough.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. So, but looking back now, it's like I chose to suffer for no reason.
Mm.
Like there obviously there was a reason to get me to the point now, but looking at it though, like the the situations I put myself in and the people I may have suffered for were irrelevant
Mm.
to how I felt about myself. Like they wouldn't have changed anything. Even
Yeah.
if they gave me what I was looking for, I wouldn't have accepted it because
Mm.
that's how bad I was as far as not feeling worthy, right?
Yeah.
I don't deserve certain things. Um,
Hmm. I
but
feel.
yeah, I love it. It was. I still struggle honestly for that with that one and being intimately close with people. That's a scary thing.
Mm.
Um, Definitely scary for me, and I'm still battling and struggling that one. Um, so right now, my forms of detachment is just being aware of uh, a lot of things that I used to get emotionally upset about and charged and would suffer. Now I realize that there's no need to suffer. Just accept what is
Mm.
and look at why that what am I to learn from the situation I'm in?
Mm.
And now that I'm looking for things to understand and learn, it's less frustrating. And when I really sit down and look at everything, every situation I've been in, it's led me to find out something about myself. There's an awakening period through what I'm going through. But since I'm so invested in the suffering, I don't realize, right? I have to go back to look and be like, dang, the red flags were there. I just didn't see it, because I had my heart set on a specific expectation and I wasn't willing to be fluid and change,
Mm.
right? So now I'm rigid. I don't want to change, but yet someone is giving me love. I don't feel worthy of it, so I'm pushing them away. But then I'm complaining to myself that nothing works out and I don't get love.
Yeah. That sounds familiar.
So it's like, yes, and that's where it comes back to. Those are all narratives in our minds that's made up.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one's done any of those things. It was just me making me feel continuously like shit. And
Mm.
now I want to be mad and frustrated with the world where that reality was all that I created based off of fear and my own insecurity. That was it. I, I, that's what it boils down to. Like my own inability to let go and just experience.
Mm.
I have to protect myself. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be hurt, but that's part of the human experience. You're gonna feel good, you're gonna hurt, but why choose to hurt yourself and continue to suffer? That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
And That's a big reason I want to go out and start talking to people to make, to allow people to realize 90% of the shit that we're suffering from is all self inflicted.
Yeah.
It's all in our head, it's all what we've created. And those emotions can change
Mm.
because that attachment to that emotion is why you stay in that rut. But once you want to let go and you're willing to change it and rewire that, you'll start seeing a difference because what how you feel inside and what you see, you'll get the outside world will reflect that.
Mm.
It's a lot of work. It's a continuous thing that you got to do, but it's very, very possible. Um, and so yeah, that's a big thing that I want to do now is just advocate that we are the obstacle. The universe does not create problems. We do.
Mm.
Now, there's challenges and obstacles, sure, because that's going to help with growth. But problems, suffering, most of that is us.
Mm.
You know, that's the reality we create for whatever reason. Subconsciously, we do. Um,
No, I agree.
and some of yeah,
I believe I call it, our self-made prisons, where
yeah,
I see you know, the experiment that was done. I cannot remember the name of the experiment, but basically they put a dog in a or an animal in a cage, and every time that they would open up the cage, the animal would try to leave. It would be shocked to the point where you open up the cage and the animal no longer chose to leave because it understood. It made up the connection. If I do this, this will happen. And even though the shock was going to be taken away and it was no longer going to be shocked, that expectation now was there, and no matter what, it wouldn't leave because it has been convinced. Even when the shocker had been taken away, it's no longer visible, no longer there. But we choose to stay in the self-made prison, right? Where, like you said, experiences might hurt, might not look the way that we want to elect it, but those are the ones that really make a difference in our lives as well. For me, at least, definitely those were the ones that made a bigger impact. That helped the helped the shifting of my perception of my experience, and that is why I one am very happy and feel blessed to be here and consider myself a facilitator, right? Because of what you said earlier. I don't know every way for everyone. I know and can tell you about what I've my experience and my experience only. So the what I do is create an environment where we can have a conversation. I can tell you my experience, and from there, you choose to take any wisdom into your perception and implement it however you want to implement it to help you overcome or achieve or whatever it is your desire is. And there for me, I no longer have to be worried about what are you doing or what did you do with it or da 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 da. All that stuff becomes irrelevant. I'm just me being me and staying focused on me on a second to second basis, which helps me understand how to choose happiness, how to just be me. And it's not a one and done, right? Like, push this button and I'm completely fixed. Like you said, I still struggle with some things. I still struggle with a lot of things, especially playing video games. I am not the most calm, level headed person when I start getting competitive video games. I get very upset and I start cursing and this and that. And then I get to choose, I actively choose to stay angry, look at the game that I actually enjoy in a negative perspective. And then now I utilize that thing that can cause me or give me happiness. I now allow it to cause me that turmoil, and I create anger and I create all this negative emotions when I can choose to do the complete opposite when I do that every other day. Every other time when I choose any other game doing the same exact thing, I'm happy. I put I put it on easy. I take my time. I do all this stuff and I have a great time. It's a great escape. So two the same thing can equally give me the peace and space and all this other things, and it can give me the craziness and headaches and that anger to the point where I want to throw things on the ground. Like it get crazy sometimes. You don't know when people cheating
You
and
know
shit.
why?
Um, in my opinion, simply because I can. It's all there. Like it's all happening there. I get to
No, I was
choose
gonna
what I
say
want to
because
experience.
in both situations, there's only one common denominator. Who is it?
Me, oh, for sure. Me, yeah, most definitely. And that's the thing. And like you were saying, right? Like we are responsible for how we experience anything and everything. And detachment is a big part of shifting that experience. And
Indeed.
it's, again, for me, it's not a detachment doesn't look like a one and done thing. It's a practice, like shooting free throws. The first time I shot a free throw, I missed. Eventually, I started shooting a little bit more. I made 5 out of 10, and it just grows. The more I practice it, the better I'll get at it. So today, I may practice detaching of love for an hour, for a minute, for a second. But next week, it might last a day. And a month from now, it might last a month. And that's the key to just continued growth in the practice of something or anything, which then will create a new experience. A better experience, perhaps? I don't know. That's for you to decide. Yeah, but man, this is detachment through, depending on what kind of lens you want to look at it, detachment from physical things, emotional things, whatever it may be, mental things. It'll have its own challenges, but at the end of the day, like we keep saying, the only reason those challenges existed or do exist is because I'm the one creating them. I the one the putting belief into them, which will then creates a wall.
Entertaining.
Exactly. Will create that reality. So if that is true, the opposite will be true. When I believe, no, that is not a challenge, I will find a way around this. I have the tools, I have the assistance, I have everything I need to my disposal to overcome any challenge, then that means I have no challenges by its own definition. And that was mind boggling to me. Believing was nearly impossible, but it was not impossible at the end of the day. I now believe. I truly do believe. Sometimes more than others, but at the end of the day, I do believe. I do believe, my friends. And I can tell you, Ahmad does believe too. He believes in everything that he's
That's
doing because I see the change. I see and hear and am experiencing the changes that he continues to place upon his life. And that is affecting his entire universe, which in turn has a massive effect on mine as well in a positive side, just by him doing him. And that's how amazing it is, man. Love it.
you know, Ram Dass is probably the best quote to me that I've ever heard is from Ram Dass. It's I can only do I can only work on me.
Mm.
Oh man, I had it earlier today. What was it?
Is that the one where I'll work on
You
me if
can,
you gonna work on you?
yeah, it's along the lines like that.
Yeah.
Like I, I can only work on me for you, and you can only work on you for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality of it, right? The better that I am, I'm able to assist and be more available emotionally for someone. And that's
Exactly.
the key.
That's it.
I can't ever expect somebody else to change, and their change will, their in turn, change me. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work that way. I have to change, therefore, my reality changes. And then from there, that person will do their own work and they change. And then that's where we meet, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a beautiful process, man.
It sure is. And no, man, and that's the amazing.
Oh, we got some comments, man.
Indeed, indeed.
Uh-huh.
You see in it too, right? No, that is the amazing realization that I was able to get out of that. Right, is the understanding, and once I have the understanding, it gets a little challenging for me because now that I have the understanding, the choice is evident. And
Mhm.
living with the choice or the choices that I make sometimes can create the turmoil or the reasons why I can't sleep at night or I'm having a bad day because I'm overthinking about the choices. And again, going back to detachment, detaching from a decision or a choice once it's made was also a very, very difficult or challenging experience for me. All right. Like you said earlier, truly letting go of the emotional attachment I had of a decision I made in the past. Ah, oh, I shouldn't have done this. Ah, oh, I knew that was a bad decision. I knew I shouldn't have done that. And just keep doing that over. And as days go by, that just, man, it really tarnished a lot of my experiences.
That's ruminating.
Most definitely. Most definitely. And so, again, if I'm doing all that, that means I'm not working on myself. And if I'm not working on myself, how can I be the best assistive, energy to anybody, especially as a family member, brother, sister, son, whatever, as a parent, as a friend, a colleague, as just another being in this shared universe. If, in my belief, if we continue to work on ourselves and focus on ourselves,
Mm.
a lot of these issues would be just would not be there. Wouldn't cannot survive in that type of environment, and that's why. Or before I say that, the reason I believe this is because of the evidence that I have through my friendship with Ahmad. Right, it has shown me how the growth, it has shown me the evidence of when I focus on myself and I'm transparent with you and I'm honest in that sense with myself and in turn with you, man, anything is possible. We went from, thinking we weren't going to do a lot of stuff, we weren't going to do this, we weren't going to do that, to having the podcast, traveling the world, investing in, you know what I'm saying? Like having books. Like our lives has transformed into all of our dreams simply by focusing on ourselves. That is, man, breathtaking, breathtaking. And that's why I'm confident
Yeah.
in what you have to say when you share, because you share from your experience. You share from a place of not just because you heard it somewhere or whatever, but because you've actually implemented it and you tried it and you looked at it and then you were able to articulate yourself well enough to give the full spectrum of your experience, and then you allow the other person to make up whatever decisions that they want to make up. That is rare, man. That is rare to have, and I am very appreciative of our friendship for that one
These
reason.
allergies, boy, they kicking my ass.
I see that. I was like, man, you been smoking? That was good.
Nah, these allergies are killing me.
Ooh, man.
Like they're in full bloom right now over here.
Oh, that's right.
But
Springtime, huh?
yeah, yeah, man. I'm eating the bee pollen, got some eye drops, but it's
Damn.
still pretty rough. Um, but no, like you said, it's definitely one of my sayings is the only problem you ever have in life is not realizing it's you,
Mm,
right? And that's where a lot of it needs to start for everyone is just having that self-awareness. And once you are aware, now holding yourself accountable to create that action
mm,
and then having the discernment and intention to continue to stay steady and make corrective actions to get the desired reality that you want, right?
mm-hmm,
Um, so, again, we are all capable and we are all capable of learning new things. The brain, the neuroplasticity in the brain is amazing, and you can learn. We can relearn. We can uh, recreate new habits. I mean, nothing is not possible, right? We can achieve it if we believe it. We can achieve it, and
mm.
that's a fact.
That is a fact.
You know, we just have to be at a point that that's something that's worth it to us, right? Um, so, but yeah, detachment, man, it's definitely it's it's liberating, I would say, right? It's
Mm,
all of them are, I think. Once you accept yourself, it's liberating. Once you now understand the importance of detaching, it's very liberating because again, you're not holding yourself captive anymore based off of an emotion or someone else's emotion, right? Or expectation.
mm,
And I would like to say that's where a lot of us fall victim, right? Is our emotions, of course, is understood, but someone else's emotions and their expectations.
yeah.
Especially when you're in relationships, man. Like that's very for a lot of people that's a very hard and challenging thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, well, how do I establish but the problem, and I could say for myself, is most of us, at least me, I never established a healthy boundary when it started. Therefore, when I now try to implement it, there's the problem, right? Like, why are you doing this now? Is there someone else? What is this? You didn't do this before. Who are you talking to? Why is this? How come, and then there's 50 million questions and they're feeling some type of way because the reality is they're insecure, right? They're in a place where they're not comfortable either. And then you have both people projecting their insecurities on each other.
Mm,
And both people are upset because neither one is ever understanding each other, but they're both coming from a place of fear.
mm,
That fear of being rejected or not enough.
yeah.
Where in reality, that's coming from yourself. That's not from the other person because the other person didn't say it.
Mm,
But because we're so hyper focused on their being different and why are they being different and how come this is now and there has to be someone else. Where in reality, no. A lot of times the person is just realizing the environment that has already been established is not really beneficial. It might be somewhat toxic that they don't want to be a part of.
Mm.
But they see value in you. So what do I do? Well, first I gotta get my shit straight before I can come and trying to tell you something, right? I gotta get in the gym. I gotta be disciplined. I would like to be able to own my time and not have to answer to someone or feel guilty because I'm going to do something for myself to work out.
Mm.
Or, you know, because I'm tired and I don't feel like it, that I don't feel obligated to go somewhere to share someone else's joy that I have no joy in. You know, it, and it's just being honest. And if that person now is like, oh, I need this, and it's like, well, that's not me, and that's not what I'm willing to compromise at this point.
Mm.
That's where that true detachment comes in. And maybe the best thing is to let that person go because it's killing you. You're suffering being there more than you're helping that other person or that you're being loved, you know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that. If it's meant for you, you know, let it go. If it's meant for you, it will come back, right? It's like a
Mm.
boomerang. If that motherfucker don't come back, hey man, clearly that was not meant for you at that place and time.
Yeah. No, I hear, and that, another thing
So
with that, I think that it's a crucial role is making the decisions to be in a place for them to come back, right? Because
mhm.
you might make decisions that place you in a place where it's not that they don't want to come back to you, but that's not where they want to be at. And that's
Mhm.
sometimes a big thing that I failed to put a thought on in the past, right? Where it wasn't me that they were escaping or that they wanted to leave. It was the decisions that I was making that was placing me in an environment or around people that they knew wasn't healthy for them. And they had to sacrifice them being with me simply because I could not pay attention to the decisions I was making was creating an environment for me to not be healthy. And I'm like, man, well, I can't believe they left, or I can't believe they did that, blah, 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 blah. But now that I'm healthier, I'm like, I would not be with a person like me when I was back then. I tell you that. I would have done the same thing. I would have been like, you know what? I love you, and I there's obviously things that you need to learn, and I cannot be with you in that journey because I need to love me more. And I am so thankful for those experiences because they did teach me that. They showed me that. Sometimes, no, 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 let me rephrase that. Every time I have to choose myself first. Because within choosing myself, I know 100% it will help everyone else. So I'm with you, brother. I am with you. And on that note, I know we're getting here
We
towards.
gotta choose ourselves, man.
That's it. We really do. That's the one choice that really
And it's
comes down, right? Really matters.
and it's not being egotistical. It's not being selfish. It's just honestly this. You know, there's a reason most of us are born alone, right? Because
Yeah.
this is experience for us, not for our parents, not for our brothers, not for our wives, not for our kids. It's us.
Yeah.
We are experiencing this. Everything else is just an aspect of the background prop, right?
Byproduct.
That's all it is.
Yes, sir. It's
But you know,
um yeah, great conversation, man. And there's definitely so much more that can be said about detachment. And if you're on watching, you have any questions, feel free to ask or state or participate. Um, Zena, I know I saw your comment, and thank you for pointing out. your agreement in what Ahmad was saying at the time, and I appreciate you stopping by. You're definitely not a bother, and thank you for commenting. We highly encourage anybody and everybody to participate in these conversations. You don't have to agree nor disagree. You'd have that option. You can also participate as far as asking questions, making comments, in a sense of your perspectives on what the topic is or what we're talking about, and it will elevate the conversation as well. Just because I don't respond right away to the comment doesn't mean I'm ignoring your comment. It's only the practice of healthy conversation. If somebody's talking, we give them full attention so we can actively listen and then come back to other things like answering comments and whatnot. And this is a great practice of having a healthy conversation, allowing yourself to give somebody your full attention that they deserve in the time, and vice versa, so you can truly communicate the thoughts or emotions or whatever it is that they're trying to communicate or you're trying to communicate with them. So thank you for being here, Ahmad. I know it's coming to towards the end. Is there any final thoughts you may have?
No, I would say just continue to live the three L's. Lead with love, take time to laugh, and never stop learning. Those are very critical on your journey of self-discovery.
Yes, sir. I love
And
that.
never take yourself too seriously.
Learn to smile at yourself, because who else, right?
Mm.
Indeed. I appreciate it, brother. Have another wonderful evening in Germany, and we thank you for your time and your presence here.
Nice to sleep, man. I'm
Yeah,
tired this time.
I see you, my brother. So on that note, we out of here. Everybody have a blessed evening. Peace out. We out of here. Laters.
Thank you for joining us and have a good night. Lead with love, take time to laugh, and never stop learning.